I'm among the vocally challenged this morning. It might just be post, a little sinus drip. On the other hand, I could be coming down with something. Isn't that appropriate just as you're ready to go on vacation? Well, maybe it's actually a good thing that I'm not going to be struggling here trying to get the words out. 942, Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Hey, guess what? We're up to 6. A really, really balmy morning here in the Miami of the North. Thank you for joining me, and if you have a comment or question about the show or anything we've been talking about this morning, 736-0300, 736-0300. And if you're hearing this show, God bless you. If you're having trouble hearing it, we have a recommendation. Dr. Christine Pickup is a doctor of audiology. She's at Mount Harrison Audiology in Rupert, Idaho. You can go online, get more details at mountharrisonaudiology.com, or give her a telephone call, 208-312-0957. She's located at 1218 9th Street and Unit Number 2 in Rupert. Diabetes and hearing loss are linked. She'd like to remind people of that, of course, because your diet will have an impact eventually on your overall health. If you or a loved one struggles with diabetes control, it could also be affecting your hearing. The inner ear is incredibly sensitive to changes in your blood supply, and high blood sugars can cause hearing changes. Be sure to have your hearing screened today. And a couple of other things before we close out the program this morning. Just a reminder, Steve Millington is going to be filling in for me over the next couple of weeks, and he's got a great lineup of guests. As I say, he's got a fantastic Rolodex. So he's able to put the grab on a lot of people out there for appearances on the show, which I would hope a lot of people will tune in and get a chance, perhaps even to hear some people you wouldn't normally hear when I'm on the air. One story I got to mention before we wrap up today. We spend a little bit of time talking about some of the cultural changes in this country. The notion that, little boys who think they're little girls should be able to use little girls' bathrooms and vice versa. We've had some discussions about that on the air, had some discussions about same-sex marriage. There was a magazine named Cosmopolitan, which when I was a kid was considered to be a dirty magazine. It is saying it is okay for brothers and sisters to fall in love. Remember when we got to same-sex marriage, we were told, no. First they said, well, we don't really want marriage. We just want civil unions. Well, okay, we want marriage, but it's not a slippery slope. It won't lead to people marrying children and horses, cows, and pigs or incestual relationships. Well, here you go. Mainstream media, well-known publication, promoting just such a thing. We've got a caller with us. You're up next. You're on the air.
Yes, another point about Europe and the refugees. It shows that a truck driver apparently in Spain or somewhere, because they're awash in Europe. We think that it's just certain areas. They have literally flooded Western Europe. And this truck driver is speaking Spanish, and he is using every foul language you can imagine. And these refugees will try to open the doors and get into his truck, and they take sacks full of excrement and throw them at the windshields and rocks, and he's just screaming bloody murder in Spanish, and it's unbelievable. And this is, again, it can happen here if we don't wise up.
Well, and the other disturbing part about it too is we've heard that there have been some attacks on some of the refugee and migrant camps in Europe. However, as it turns out, some of these so-called refugees have burned down their own camps.
Well, and one more thing about Obama. Apparently Friday after Thanksgiving, he instituted with executive order 2,000 regulations and whatever, just on the American business people. This is what this sorry sucker does on the day after Thanksgiving. He slips it in when you're not looking. He's such a foul, filthy, I don't even know what to think. I'll hang up. See ya.
Hey, thank you much for the telephone call. Look, he doesn't even need to do it himself, but since he has taken office, the number of regulations that have been promulgated through his administration, I mean, the numbers are astonishing. You're talking tens of thousands, perhaps now into the hundreds of thousands. Simply no way that an American today can actually keep track of all of this taking place. I asked a lawyer friend one time, I said, does the old adage, ignorance of the law is no excuse, still apply? And he said, yes. So how is it, Americans, because a regulation is a law, it's not passed with the consent of the governed. It's just simply imposed top down by fiat, as if Mr. Obama is a divine right monarch. So if you have a couple of 100,000 new regulations on the books over the last 7 years that he's been in office, the question then becomes, how can you keep track of all of those? How would you know you're breaking some of these laws? But it's a great tool for the regulatory state, Big Brother, to come out and intimidate you. They can show up at your door, at your farm, your ranch, your business, and they can tell you, hey, did you know you were doing this? And, oh, yes. Well, did you know it was against the law? Well, no. Well, that's too bad, but it is. And it's going to cost you this much. And government can then shake you down for a little more money so it can go spend it on somebody else who'll likely go vote for a free lunch because, hey, thank you, they got your money and your hard-earned money in order to do that. It's a kleptocratic state. They are taking, when you see that they have these places around the country where police are allowed to seize your automobile or impound your property, or if you're carrying large amounts of cash, and they don't need any evidence. It's just considered that it used to be innocent until proven guilty, but if you're walking around with more than $10,000 in cash, now, probably not the wisest thing to do, but, it's your choice, right? They can seize that money because they can claim, well, he probably got it by dealing drugs. Even though they have no evidence, even though you may go to church on Sundays, even though you may be a teetotaler and everyone knows it, they don't need any evidence any longer. This is the future of this country unless we get it back, and you got to demand from your elected officials that they bring these things to a stop, to a halt. Because otherwise, there won't be any liberties left. It'll just be someone kicking down your door saying you're in violation. Come with me at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's the way it happens south of the border in the banana republics. Do we really want it here? Coming up on 949, Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. And then Obama's EPA, I mentioned this. They have already told Congress, sorry, you have no say in this. We're going to raise the requirement for the amount of ethanol that goes into each gallon of gasoline. Here they are, moaning and groaning about the end of the world. We're going to fry ourselves to death. The sky is falling because of global warming. But ethanol production in itself is one of the worst causes of dumping all of this crap into the air. But you know what? A lot of wealthy Democrats have their hands and their feet into that project too as well. And they're giving money to these candidates, and these candidates are saying, well, I can reward you with this. May not work for the general public, but it works for me and it works for you, and that's all we care about. We've got a short break coming up. Gallagher is on vacation this week. There'll be some various voices filling in for him. But Mike Gallagher's report is coming up, brought to you exclusively by the financial advisors at Waddell & Reed, right here in Twin Falls. The telephone number is 736-6563. Once more, that telephone number, 736-6563.